Okay, this is Kim from the iMoot team, and it is my pleasure to have Fred Dixon here from BigBlueButton, which is a sponsor and the platform that we use to deliver this awesome online conference. So I'd like to welcome you for being here, or thank you for being here and, being a sponsor and doing this presentation for us. So have at it.
All right, sounds good. I'm very happy to be here. It is, I think, our fourth year for providing the hosting for iMoot through BigBlueButton. And each year things get better and better, both for BigBlueButton and iMoot. So I'm going to give an overview of the project, what we're working on, kind of the roadmap in the next couple of months. And if you have any questions, just feel free to type them in the chat as we go along. So for those of you who don't know, BigBlueButton is an open source web conferencing system for online learning. It started at Carleton University in 2007. It's seen almost 8 years of development right now and localized into over 25 languages. It is open source, and by that, people can build upon it. We do a lot of work with Moodle, which I'll talk about shortly. Probably the biggest design win we've had is the US Department of Defense built an entire web conferencing system around BigBlueButton, and they publicly state they save at least $12 million a year using it. And they went production with that, I think, almost 2 years ago now. So lots of good design wins, lots of good use of it, and we're building on top of that for adding even more capabilities. So what do we have today? So you're seeing it here in the session, real-time sharing of audio, video, slides, chat, desktop, polls, emoticons. We've improved the screen sharing. It's actually faster now. We've got breakout rooms, and we've got live closed captioning. The three use cases that we think about in terms of pedagogic and online class, or using it in a pedagogic sense, the one-to-one, which is tutoring, virtual office hours, coaching, small group collaborations, a couple students getting together, working together on their assignment, maybe it's breakout rooms where you're getting students to collaborate together, and the traditional one-to-many, where the instructor's goal is to share content and impart learning, engage students, all things that you want to do with an online classroom. So it's a lot more than just sharing webcams. It's really engaging students. Lots of localization. There's a site called TransFX, which we get localization updates. That's strings, the name value strings in BigBlueButton from people all around the world. And then we just pull from that and we update our product. And we have a lot of good coverage in terms of localization. And we also take accessibility very seriously. Every release, we pay an external company to audit us for accessibility. They give us a statement and a VPAT, a voluntary profile accessibility something. I should remember, I should know what it is. That basically states how we're doing on accessibility. And that's available at bigbluebutton.org/accessibility. Just a couple screenshots. There's an example of sharing 4 webcams. Here's a different layout. Maybe in this case, the webcams are more important. And just so you know, you can share 15 webcams in a BigBlueButton session if you want. I've seen it go to 21. In terms of stats, very active open source project. There's about 3,100 forks of us now on GitHub. And you can see over the last 8 years, lots of activity. And that activity is not slowing down. There's more developers working on BigBlueButton, and things are starting to happen faster and faster and in parallel. The BigBlueButton client is Flash-based. Flash has been really good. The support for Flash has actually increased over the years because Microsoft has now embedded Flash for IE11 and their next generation browser, Edge, which means you get automatic Windows updates on Flash, just like Chrome gives you automatic updates. So the platform support is increasing, and we make use of some of the capabilities in the browsers for sending and receiving high-quality audio. With WebRTC, if you're using Firefox or Chrome, we will make use of that for audio, which is really good quality audio. And then there are other Edge is moving towards support for WebRTC. It just recently updated support for WebRTC 1.0. And those 3 browser manufacturers are working together on support for WebRTC 1.1. So we make use of WebRTC for audio, Firefox and Chrome. We've been looking at adding support for Edge. And browser technologies are just friggin' amazing, what they're doing now with sending and receiving. So we want to make use of that. And we already do today with just seamlessly doing it through audio. If you are on IE or Safari, we would fall back and use Flash for audio, which is still really good. But we always recommend Firefox and Chrome. They give us the best audio. BigBlueButton project is, there's sort of two ways to do an open source project. You have lots of people that just commit in parallel with really lots of parallel effort and not a lot of oversight, but things happen very quickly. We kind of took the opposite approach. There's a very dedicated core group of committers who are responsible for doing a lot of the core development and reviewing inputs from other people. And these committers take the job very seriously. It's how we maintain the quality of BigBlueButton. So there's a lot of things we want to do, but we only do the things that we can make sure we can do really well for a release, test it within an inch of its life, and then we release it as a beta, we test it a bit further, and then we release it as a final release. And that focus on quality may take us a little longer for a release, but pays off when other organizations try out BigBlueButton and find that everything they want to do just works. And the biggest example, I think, of success for that was DISA. They had used it well over a year before we even heard about it. They were building on top of our product because it just worked. We do a lot of developer summits. Every 6 months, we get together with the core team. So a couple fun images here. 2014 in Brazil. Here's in Ottawa. Back in Brazil. Back in Ottawa. Back in Brazil. And I don't think I uploaded it, but there's a blog post where we had the recent developer summit in Toronto. I had over 20 developers together and more worldwide as well. So the team is growing bigger. That's because more people are building on it. So as a product manager for BigBlueButton, that's the hat that I wear. There's a couple of things that we guide us by focusing on, and we focus on teaching and learning. Yes, we can do video chat, but that doesn't really cover what an instructor and students need to accomplish during a session. The instructor needs to be able to communicate clearly knowledge and concepts and engage the students so the students feel like they're part of a session. And there are things around that, like accessibility, like interaction, breakout rooms, polling, and so on, that go along quite beyond than just talking heads. On the product management side, we just release some quality, not dates. When the product is ready, it goes out, not before. And obviously open source, so we get a large community of people around the world building upon it and contributing to it. And kind of like the subtext is we like to under-promise and over-deliver. That way we delight users with, wow, this is actually better than I perhaps expected it. So we treat it like a product. And how do we measure the success? I look to see if someone says to me they want to use BigBlueButton over other products because it does a better job to help them teach. And the design wins is another way. How many, when people around the world build on top of it and incorporate BigBlueButton into their product, and just a general growth of the ecosystem. The tweets, the GitHub forks, other developers contributing improvements to the product, that shows that there's a very healthy community, and it's been growing over the years. So yes, one market, online learning. And in that market, there are lots of learning management systems, and we integrate with many of them. Many of them we have native integrations. And so Moodle, of course, is one which we are probably the nearest and dearest to our heart because it is open source, and we have the deepest integration of any learning management system. But we also are embedded inside of Canvas. Every Canvas customer has access to BigBlueButton out of the box. We have deep integration with Sakai. We are embedded inside of Schoology. We are embedded inside of Genzabar. And we have LTI support as well. The other learning management systems out there use this as well, and they can do it through LTI. So when you focus on a market for a while, you tend to get embedded, and that's what we've been striving to do. We're also embedded in Moodle Cloud as well. So anybody who wants to try out BigBlueButton can just set up an account on Moodle Cloud and use it. It's free. There's up to 6 users, no recordings or breakout rooms, but it's all there. And the Moodle integration for BigBlueButton is something that we've been working on for about 6 years now. And by that, we've been constantly improving it, getting feedback from the community, making sure it's as solid as we can make it. We just recently updated earlier this week the integration so it works with Moodle 3.3. And I'm happy to report that of all the Moodle integrations, there's about 1,200 or so. In the last 3 months, this is the stats from Moodle.org, we have now reached the #4 spot in overall downloads. So I think there's over 4,500 sites now running the BigBlueButton integration. I'm not sure we can take out the other 3 as they are themes, but I was very happy to see that the growth of it is just increasing. So if you want to try out BigBlueButton with Moodle, you will not be the only one. And then just tweets that you see. We like to retweet things that people say about us. Howard Rheingold teaches open source, university in California, and likes BigBlueButton better than at Blackboard, Cloudbraid, Adobe Connect. This was a quote from Mark Matthews, Director of Computing Networking, Iowa Central Community College. They don't pay us anything, they're just using BigBlueButton. And what he liked to point out was that the support effort with BigBlueButton was lower than the other web conferencing system they had. And these quotes really speak to the value where if you put enough effort into making the product solid, reliable, and usable, the support effort gets lower. And it's easy to put something out, but it's a little harder to make it really solid and really usable. And we go that effort because we want to have adoption. And adoption is the return of an investment for anything is adoption times the use case. So how many use cases does it cover, and what does the adoption like? Best product in the world with no adoption doesn't make a difference. So some highlights. I'm going to go through these quickly. Polling is already in BigBlueButton, so it's kind of fun. It's been there now for a couple of releases. We actually read the slides out so that if we see a slide with looks like 4 options, we'll give you a one-click button so you can just do the polling right away. It's really good if you have a set of slides that you want to just engage students with, and you just we're already parsing the data for screen readers, so we make it easy for you to do polling as well. Got our mode icons as well, so you too can express your feelings inside of BigBlueButton. Breakout rooms. We could do that, Gareth. We could. It's always possible in the future. Absolutely. Breakout rooms, you can have 2 to 5 breakout rooms, set a time limit, drag and drop students between the breakout rooms, so you can actually arrange them if you want. When the breakout rooms start, students get invited into the session. And they see how much time is left. So they're in a new tab. They're still in the main session. They've just gone into a new tab that's running BigBlueButton in a breakout room for a breakout room. And the instructor, in fact, actually everybody now can see this. They can see how many breakout rooms there are, how many users are in breakout rooms, and the instructor has the ability to listen into the breakout room, just like they were walking around a table in a physical classroom and kind of listening to a conversation, and fully join the breakout room as well. And they can also close it, which would bring everyone back to the main session. And again, they've never left the main section. It's just in the previous tab, so they can go in and ask the instructor a question or two, and hey, can you join our breakout room and help us out? We added closed captioning as well. We did it in a layout. This is live closed captioning. So the instructor, the idea would be is that a university wants to accommodate a student with hearing disabilities. They invite a stenographer into the class, and the stenographer joins as a moderator. And they're able to then pick a language in the closed captioning layout, take ownership of it, which means they'll be able to type in with the stenograph machine, and that typing goes into a text field. For the student's point of view, they can choose a language stream, so there could be multiple closed captioning language streams, and then they can view the text that goes in live. And then that text, those closed captions, come through as subtitles in the recordings afterwards. So live captioning is in place, and we are working on doing the captioning where you've finished the recording and you want to upload like a subrip title file, an SRT file that maybe a third-party company gave you. So that will be coming in the future as well. But accessibility is very important. We've got really good support for screen readers as well. The desktop sharing got faster in this release. I've seen a lot of folks using desktop sharing. So we actually launch it outside the browser, so it works on all browsers. And it's actually running a program to capture the desktop and stream it directly to the server. And that program, which for those who are technical, it's FFmpeg, sort of the toolbox for video encoding and streaming, does a really good job of capturing it. And we recently came out with a very simple front end for BigBlueButton called Greenlight. The idea is that maybe you have a BigBlueButton server set up at your school and you want to be able to give people access to it outside of it. You could install Greenlight on the server, and then if they hit the URL of the server, they'll get a nice little landing page which asks them to enter a name or enter a meeting name and then a session. Sorry, enter a meeting name and then their name, and they can just go into a room and invite other people into it as well. And that's open source as well. You'll see it up, if you go to demo.bigbluebutton.org, you'll see Greenlight right there, and you can just type a name and then join a meeting and invite others. We do have support for mobile in the Puffin browser, which is kind of like a good stopgap if you get someone who really needs to come in remotely through their Android or iPhone. But we kind of want to give you an HTML5 client. So let's talk about the roadmap for 2017. And specifically the BigBlueButton integration. I think I had a slide there, didn't quite see it, just to give you an overview of what is for 2017. And I may have that slide a bit later on. It's multi-user whiteboard. So you as the instructor would be able to have the students move the mouse around and write on the whiteboard at the same time. Really good for K-12. We're looking to do potentially audio-only breakout rooms, and the mobile support for the HTML5 client. That's what we're working on. That's the big one. I have some slides on that in a little bit. In terms of the Moodle integration, so these are the things we do already. That's already in the stable version, which we just recently updated to support Moodle 3.3. A couple of cool things. Notify users who are enrolled in a course when the recording is ready. So you just do a session and you'll get a notification inside of Moodle. The things that we did recently, backups were fixed, so they now work. We've pretty much fixed every bug that has been reported to by the community. And as the usage increases, like with 4,500 sites running the integration now, it's pretty solid. And again, if we see anything out there, we'll just fix it. Things that we're working on in the next release, set up a default presentation for the activities, make use of the global search, edit the description of recordings, make use of Moodle tags for tagging the recordings. It'd be great to get some analytics back into Moodle because we do have data on what the student did in the session. Did they respond to a poll? Did they chat? Did they speak? Were they the presenter? Did they share their webcam? So that could map into some sort of engagement score that if an instructor wanted to create a grade based on participation online, they could use that data. We want to get that back into Moodle. And the flip side as well, was there students who have done nothing in the online class or not even been in the online class? And the absence of data would suggest that maybe that student needs a bit more help. Import links to recordings. So the idea is that you could take a recording from one class to another, get some data in terms of viewing a recording, guest users be able to join, and show some recording, a preview of the recording, like some thumbnails. So this is what kind of the newer version would look like. Probably the biggest thing here is just we put the thumbnails in for the first 3 slides, so that when you're looking through a list of recordings, it's very easy to pick out which ones that you maybe want, or what is the recording you're looking at. Especially if the instructor was like doing a presentation each week, you could kind of see the first 3 slides and move over and see mouse over and see a larger version of them. And the idea is that you would be able to create an activity link that just showed you the recordings. And this is a merging of, for those of you that know the BigBlueButton integration, there's the BigBlueButton BN, which is the activity link. And we have something called Recordings BN, which is a resource module that collects together all the recordings from all the activities in a course into one place. But we want to merge that functionality into the activity module, so there's only one plugin. So we're going to kind of give you the ability to turn it into three things. Maybe it's just a room only. There's no list of recordings. There's a room with recordings, which is what it is now. Or maybe it's just the list of recordings. So this is where people go to if they want to see a consolidated list. So unifying the 2 plugins we have now into one. But most people use just the BigBlueButton BN plugin. Yeah, and this is what it would look like if you just have the recordings only. There would be no link to join the course. You just see the recordings. So HTML5. So we're very happy that a couple days ago, as Gareth pointed out, we have released a developer preview of the HTML5 client. It reflects the work that we've been doing for quite some time on adding the ability for a user from a non-Flash environment that supports WebRTC, an Android device, for example, to enter and participate in a BigBlueButton session as a student, just like a person with a Flash client, so that they could be both in the same session. There's no 2 different servers you have to run. And that meant unifying the messages in the BigBlueButton server so it could handle whether it's coming from the Flash client or the HTML5 client, and then implementing all the features that you see in the Flash client and the HTML5 client so they could chat back and forth, do polls, and so on. So the first release we're working on is basically all the viewer capabilities except two-way video. On a mobile device, there's an argument that video is important, but a higher importance would be is seeing the content that the instructor is sharing, including desktop sharing. So we'll do have some limited support for video, like the one-way video stream. But the content trumps video. You want to be able to hear high quality and participate. Let's chat, emojis, respond to polls, see closed captioning, do the breakout rooms, all the other bread and butter that students would want to do. So the key part here is that we are increasingly adding capabilities to the HTML5 client to give mobile users an option from joining from Android devices. We are still working and improving on the Flash client, but these are now both going on in parallel. And at some point, you'll see the HTML5 client probably get feature parity with the Flash client, but we are providing a very smooth transition to the community, which is our goal, that people could join from an HTML5 endpoint and participate in the BigBlueButton session, just like the Flash client. So a couple of screenshots, and we did a lot of work on the UI design. This is some screenshots from the last 2 summits ago. There's some mock-ups. You'll notice the HTML5 client looks pretty close to this. And in terms of iOS, Apple unfortunately does not yet allow you to install a browser on an iOS device that supports WebRTC. If you installed Firefox or Chrome on your iPad or iPhone, you're really just installing a UI layer over the Safari rendering engine, WebKit. And that does not yet support WebRTC. So we are working in parallel on an iOS app. I thought their goal for the first mobile support was going to be through HTML5. And it actually that's kind of where the product is headed in the long run anyway. So we will have an option for you for iOS. The first release for mobile will be HTML5 client, and for Android, which has excellent support for WebRTC. The screenshots, all this is up on our website. So 2 phases. Phase 1, all the viewer capabilities minus two-way video, Android only. If Apple were to enable you to install a browser that supports WebRTC, this would just work on your Apple device. Phase 2, two-way video, and then add more of the moderated capabilities as well. So now that we have a developer release out, a lot of work's going to continue to build on top of that, and other people can try it out and give us feedback as well. Again, if you go to, I'll put a link to it in the chat on our BigBlueButton website. The just announced it yesterday, actually. It's kind of cool. Yes, there's the work looking ahead. So we're going to use WebRTC for desktop sharing. This is in the product, so it will be 2.0. Shared notes, so people could collaborate, especially in a breakout room. Multi-user whiteboard, share audio and video files. That's still future. I'm not sure that's going to be 2.0. I can pretty much say that these things here will be in 2.0, and you'll see us come out with a beta release of it at some point. And a lot of focus right now is on the HTML5 client. And we will do an iOS client as well. So our goal is to give you parity on the mobile side. And these are the links for the BigBlueButton project. Of course, the homepage is right there. And we have our YouTube channel, the sources on GitHub. You can tweet us at our Twitter account. The docs are there, and we have a Facebook page as well. At this point, I'd be happy to answer any questions folks have on the project.
Fred, I have a question about the screen sharing with a Mac.
Yeah.
I know I've had issues with just sharing a section of my screen instead of the whole desktop. So it comes up with like the little blue box where it looks like you should be able to drag it and make the size the way you want it, but I haven't had any luck with that. So I don't know if I'm doing something wrong or.
No, Kim, it actually, the underlying technology we use for screen sharing, FFmpeg, actually lets you support a region on Macs or Windows. It comes out of the box. It doesn't have a region support on Mac. You only get to choose a monitor, and we by default choose your home monitor. So we could do work on improving that, but I'm kind of hoping the WebRTC desktop sharing comes in soon enough that we'll give you an alternative way on your Mac to share the desktop, one that would let you share a full screen or an app. So I think you're going to see another way of doing desktop sharing. in an upcoming release, and that will give you more flexibility. And it'll be the same on Mac and PC at that point. So yeah, currently right now, you're able to share just your home monitor with desktop sharing on the Mac.
Thank you for that. That's good to know that it wasn't me.
No.
I'm not very technical, so comes to stuff like that, I'm like, oh, okay, I must just be doing something wrong.
Other questions?
Does anybody? Oh yeah.
Hi, Fred. I did try desktop sharing on a actually Ubuntu netbook just to see if it would work as a backup for me, even though I'm using it this time. And I couldn't get it to work. Is it because I haven't installed FFmpeg?
No. All it has, it requires Java to run. Like, it still launches inside of a Java application. So it's a JNLP file that you actually download. It's a small file called screenshare.jnlp, the Java Network Launch Protocol. And what that does is, if you have Java installed, when your browser opens up that JNLP file, it launches Java, passes them the file, and inside that file is the credentials to go start up a screen sharing session.
Right.
Did it launch?
It did launch, but it didn't actually share it. I read a whole lot of thing on Oracle, and I've installed the OpenJDK and the IST8 plugin. The red bit came up, the blue bit came up, but it didn't actually then go any further than that. And a few other people had the same issue on Linux. So I don't know if there's some underlying thing to do with Firefox and NP API or something like that. I know a little bit of Java, but not that end of things.
The NS API, the Netscape API is depreciated. It has actually nothing to do with it, because we're just having you open up this JNLP file like you would open up a Word document or whatever. So I would recommend posting this to our BigBlueButton setup mailing list, and just say that or the BigBlueButton users mailing list, and just describe the problem you're having, and we'll help you out there.
Cool. Yeah. Okay. I mean, I'll try it. Well, I mean, iMoot will still have the test rooms around, so thank you. So I think actually, so also you see on the helpline forums a few other people that had some things. So if you maybe want to chat to them,
just post, and we're very active in the forum, and we'll follow up there, and that way we can solve it for you. We actually solve it for other people as well.
Thank you.
Yeah. And Janice posted how do you get BigBlueButton for your own Moodle site? There's a couple of ways. We actually work with some of the Moodle partners now. So your Moodle partner may be able to offer you hosting for BigBlueButton. You can, if you're like running your own Moodle site, maybe you want to set up, if you set up your own Moodle site, then you'd be sort of like technically inclined, and you could easily set up your own BigBlueButton server if you want. Or you could go to BigBlueButton.org, and there's some companies that provide you commercial support there as well, and they can do hosting. Yeah, and so it would require you have the BigBlueButton integration able to install it. Hopefully your Moodle provider allows you to do that. It's been out there for 6 years and well supported. Once you get it installed, it actually comes pre-configured with one of our test servers, the test install server, where you can try it out right away, and then you can get either your own server or oh yeah, no worries if they don't host it. You can go to the companies that provide commercial support. If you go to BigBlueButton.org, at the bottom it says commercial support. You can approach any of the companies there, and they'll offer you hosting as well. Other questions? Thanks, Trish. Yeah, we're getting better because lots of people are using it, and we're entrepreneurs as well. We earn money to provide support and hosting, and we take that and we pour it back into making the product better. And an increasingly amount of people are contributing to the product, which accelerates the development. And we're getting good at it. After working on it for 8 years, we're kind of getting good at it. And the browsers have provided some really good infrastructures for sending media through WebRTC. So we're increasingly leveraging that as well. So yeah, our goal is to make a really good open source solution for virtual classrooms, to give you a really good option for one, and one that is, I think, for the Moodle side, probably more deeply embedded than any other option out there. Cool. Any other questions? So you can always find us. You can go to our Facebook page if you wanted. You can go join our community, the Big Blue Button Dev mailing list. You can always reach out to me, ffdixon@bigbluebutton.org. And you'll just follow our blog. You'll see lots of things that are going to be improved upon in the coming months. And yeah, all that Moodle stuff that we talked about. I know Jesus is really looking forward to getting it out into the product. All the updates to the Moodle plugin. So you're going to see the integration with Moodle get even deeper. Okay, and if there's no other questions, I think we're good.
All right, Fred. On behalf of the iMoot team, we'd like to thank everybody for joining us. And Fred, thank you so much for that awesome view of what's to come. And we really appreciate using your products. And thank you again for supporting us through the iMoot. It's been awesome.
My pleasure, Kim. Happy to do it, and hope everyone has a good online conference.